Hello everybody, welcome back to Listen, I Have an Idea. My name is Heidi and today is the last video in my Preptober series before NaNoWriMo starts tomorrow. In the last video, I went through all of the things in the prep work that I did to get me set up for November since it starts tomorrow. There is a lot to do. November is going to be an absolutely ridiculous month for me this year. I have something planned pretty much every day of the month, so I got to schedule it pretty much down to the minute of what I'm doing. So the other day's video got me caught up. I am ready to go. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you what I'm going to be writing for NaNoWriMo and how I've set up my Scrivener document so that I will be as prepped as possible come tomorrow, well, I guess tonight at midnight, to start writing. All right, without further ado, let's talk about Paging Dr. Lonely. I made the cover in the last video and I posted the project on the NaNoWriMo website, and so let's talk about the story. But before we get into it, I want to talk about the other projects that I was possibly considering for this month. There were 5 in total. 2 of them were the 2 rewrites or continuations of my previous 2 NaNoWriMo projects. So last year's was Stardust. It's the second in my Star series. I continued it a little bit in February. I have put a lot of work, a lot of time into that project, but I keep getting stuck. I don't like the idea of where it's going, and then I do love it, and then I change it, and then I love it again, and then anyways, I feel like I'd be pulling teeth trying to get those words out for that novel, for NaNoWriMo, and I just don't want to do that. I wanted to start with something a little bit different, a little bit fresh. The other idea was Campus Crush, which was my project that I worked on 2 years ago, and I love that story. I've gone back and reread it a couple of times. There are a lot of changes that I would need to make to it, at least in the first couple of chapters, just setting certain things, but I don't want to spend my November editing. I just want to write something new, something fresh, and just have a fun time with it. I was considering 3 separate projects to start for this year. The first being potentially the 3rd book in my Star series. I'm calling it Starlight. I had the idea for it back at the very beginning of February because I had a dream of a particular scene, and it was basically like a storybook, entire start to finish in my dream, and I thought it would work really well for Starlight. Up until a couple weeks ago, I fully expected Starlight to be the product I was working on, but I went back and I reread my notes, and I just wasn't in love with the story anymore. The one that I originally thought about, dreamt about, wrote out, it just wasn't calling to me. I do like the characters, I like the setting, and I like a bunch of other stuff that I had planned. It just, there's a lot that needs to be worked on, and I didn't think 1 month of prep work was going to be enough time for me to come up with all those ideas solidly to make that story what I want it to be. So we're scrapping that project. The other project that I had a couple of ideas for is one based on Morgan Wallen's song, More Than My Hometown. I just had this cute idea while listening to the song driving home from work one day, and I thought, oh, that would be cute, but it's not as fleshed out as I thought it should be for a NaNoWriMo project. If I had had a lot more time to plan it and actually write out a chapter guideline, then maybe, but not this time around. That brings us to Paging Dr. Lonely. This is one that I also had a dream about back at the beginning of February of this year. I spent the entire day writing out all of my chapter guidelines. I planned the entire book in one day and wrote, I think, about 11,000 words for everything all together. I did film on that day after I planned it out. So I want to share with you the clip from then, and then we'll jump back in and we'll talk about what the story is actually about. Today's writing is very much like the 1st of February. I had a dream. Another one. This one was not a complete dream like it was on February 1st, but it was a couple of scenes and a couple of characters, and I just knew it could be a great story. This is not a story that is going to take place in the Star universe, but it's a story nonetheless. And so I've had a blast today going through, writing on Scrivener in my little dream document, these characters, and they all have names. They all have names, and at this point, I am 21 chapters into planning this book, and I'm nowhere near done. I'm going to continue writing today, so my word count will actually increase from where it's at right now, but I'm going to plot out the entire book, and it is so cute. Oh my goodness. Of course, it's a romance. Oh, I love it. It's so good. What is the premise? I don't want to share too much because eventually I will write it, and it's just so adorable, but it's about a doctor who falls in love with an ice dancer or a figure skater. That was the dream that came to me. Why? I don't know. I think it's all the romance that I read in January, but this is the inspiration that I needed. I needed to get back into the groove of things and read and experience, and I think just picturing all those beautiful love stories together has given my brain enough serotonin to create these new stories, and it's just working. It's working so well. So the story follows Nate, an orthopedic surgeon, raising his niece in Seattle. He works at the local hospital, has a couple of patients, and one day the love interest Mara tags along with her grandfather to his appointment with Nate. Sparks fly. The rest of the book happens. Mara is a single mother raising a daughter who is the same age as Nate's niece. The book will be dual perspective, so every other chapter his and hers. It starts off in Nate's perspective, switches over to Mara's, and every other chapter is their perspectives. I have the entire book planned, all 27 chapters, and I am currently just working through the last couple chapters, polishing them up. That way I'm good to go. Mara is a figure skater. She works at the local ice rink, and she is going through school, trying to better herself, get a business degree, and she eventually wants to take over as head of the figure skating department at this local arena. She also hopes to find love one day, but because the previous relationship of hers ended so badly, she doesn't have high hopes for it. There are a couple themes in this book that I have never written about before. I'm killing off a character, which will be fun for me to write, but sad for the reader and for the characters to experience. There's a lot of characters, a lot of people at play here, but we're going to keep it very, very small. We're going to keep it to Nate, his niece, Mara, her daughter. We're going to keep it with the grandfather at play, and just a couple other key characters that kind of work their way into the story. Other than in my dream, the inspiration for Nate comes from two particular book covers that I have seen over the past year. The first is The Temporary Roomie by Sarah Adams. I love the depiction of the character Drew on this cover. The way he's sitting, the black scrubs, the hair, you can tell from his position that he is tall, and that is what I am picturing when I picture Nate in my story. The other cover is The Makeup by Haley Gardner. I have not read this book, so I don't know if it's good or not, but I saw this cover on Instagram and I fell in love with the two characters that are on the cover, their wardrobe, how they're styled, especially the male characters in this long flowing gray coat. The glasses, will my character Nate wear glasses? Probably not, but who knows? I may put him in a pair at some point. I just thought that these two book characters were the inspiration I needed for him, and that is kind of what I'm going with. As for Mara, I was doing a little bit of research into figure skating and the type of lessons that she would maybe teach at this ice skating rink, and I came across a YouTube channel. Her name is Coach Julia, and she does a lot of the tutorials on YouTube of how to figure skate and learning all the different moves, and I just thought that she fit so perfectly with the type of character I wanted to achieve for Mara in terms of personality, her overall general aura of a being, I guess. Nothing too physical. I mean, she does look a little bit taller than how I'm picturing Mara being, but other than that, she is what I'm going to be modeling Mara after. As for the daughter and the niece, they are just going to be the two cutest little things. The niece has ringlety hair, blonde probably, and then the daughter has, I'm thinking stick straight, a little bit of a darker hair color, and just a really vibrant, loud personality, and the niece is just quiet and shy. Let's jump into my Scrivener. I want to show you how I've set everything up because I love the way that I've set it up, and I hope it helps me this month. Here we go. So this is my Scrivener. I have colored it different. In the Windows version, you can't color these top bars unless you put it in a different theme, and then you have like these weird colors on the side. So we're just working with this. I love the colors. I will put the hex codes in the description box below. This is the manuscript. We have the first chapter for Nate. It'll start in his perspective, and there is nothing here. It is completely blank. I love the picture in the back, the cherry blossoms. Oh, so pretty. All right, for the target goals, I've already set this up, 50,000 words. There is no words written yet because all of the words for the manuscript target are just in here. My plans are a completely separate folder that are, they're going to register separately. For the options, we have it compiling the current group, and then for the session target, I make sure it never resets at midnight. I love writing at night, and so I never want it to reset automatically and me lose those words. I also allow it to put negatives in there because if I subtract a word, I want it gone for my word count. That way, it's gone forever and I only have a true 100% accurate word count. Under my plans, I have the two folders, notes and chapter plans. For notes, I have the three. I have my original plans, my locations, and the additions. Now, I'm going to share with you some of what I have for all of these categories. So for the original plans, I have this here. This is all I'm going to show you, but just note that this document is 11,000 words long. This is originally what I wrote. It has, I'll give you a little sneak peek. all of the different chapter guidelines down there. My original idea was a young male doctor, relatively new to the practice, working at the hospital, is raising his young niece, about 4 to 5 years old. His sister's either out of the picture or too busy with something in her life that makes him need to take over taking care of his niece. He is an orthopedic surgeon that's in high demand at the hospital in a busy city. That's a teaching hospital. There's also a daycare on site for the niece to go to while he's working there, where she meets a friend, the daughter of the love interest. This is not how they meet. This is just my original idea. It's not how they meet. And then I have, as you can see, a couple of the characters listed. Then we go into locations. Don't judge me for this one, but there are actual addresses on here. Please do not go and stalk these addresses. You can if you want to, but don't show up to these houses. These are found through all of my crazy research, my Zillow searches. I just feel like these houses fit the vibe for these characters in particular, especially Nate's house. I absolutely love it. That's locations. Generally, it's in Seattle. Different hospitals there, the different ice rinks. Next is the additions. This is my note category. So the different bullet points of things that I want to add into the story, but don't know where to put it. And it's just quick, easy access. So for this, these are all non-spoilers, I guess. You can read through them if you're interested. They're just little bullet points of things that I need to include. I do have spoiler ones down below here, but these are just okay for right now. So as I continue writing, I will write all of my notes here. I'll probably put little memos like a chapter 1 type note, like things that I need to add for chapter 1, chapter 2. Next are the chapter plans. Best believe that I have edited this document to not include the little chapter descriptions on here. There will be chapter descriptions put right back on here, so I'm not losing track of what my chapters are, like the little brief synopsises. But this is everything that I've plotted. Chapter 27 will, I think, be the last chapter. I'm currently working through my 4th re-edit of going through all the chapters again, and I've added a couple of things between chapter 13 and 22. So I'm just working on those ones currently, and I'm going to rework the end a little bit. Chapter 18 is the scene that I had my dream in. Like, I dreamt this story. This is the scene that came to mind when I had the dream, and the rest is written around it, literally all the way around it. I will take you into how I've set up my different chapters, but I will be blurring my words just because I don't want to share too much of the story, but I want to show you how I've set it up. So here we go. We have chapter 1. We have all the different chapters. So I have, as you can see up at the top, the brief outline of what's going on. And then down below, these are my copy and pasted synopsises for each of the different chapters. Some of them are short. Some of them are a little bit longer. Where's a longer one? There we go. Here's a longer one. This one where you see a large chunk of text up at the top and then a larger one at the bottom. These are ones that I have fully re-edited. So the part on the top is what's going to be staying in the finalized draft. The bottom is what I had initially planned for that chapter. I don't delete my words from here because I can always take some of those ideas and reapply them somewhere else. For now though, when I know it's at the bottom of the document, I just don't actively pull from that. Yeah, it happens again in chapter 20. Big chapter, little things that have been moved at the very end. All right, and then scrolling down here, we have my characters. All this is just the names of the characters and the general description of who they are and how they're related to the main characters. There is no actual list of what it is. I do not like filling these out. I don't like having them. I have a very clear idea of what the characters look like in my mind. If I need to make notes though, I'll put notes, but for all of my characters, these remain empty. So that is my project for this year. I am so excited to write it. One of the things I find so funny and so comedic is that the day I settled on this project, the novel is set in a hospital, and that night I ended up in the emergency room. Not for myself. I was there with my mother. I was just helping her out. But yeah, we were there for about 6 hours overnight, and I felt like karma, the cosmos, something was in it for me where it's like, Heidi, you need inspiration for this novel. So you know what? We're going to send you to the actual hospital so you can do some groundwork, some like in the trenches research for this book. I just thought it was so funny. No, I didn't take any pictures while I was at the hospital because it was 3 in the morning and I was not looking fresh. Everything is okay now. My mother's all good. No need to worry about that. While we were waiting there for over 6 hours, I did read through some of my chapter outlines to her and she really enjoyed it. For not having anything else to do and no Wi-Fi access in that particular point in the emergency room. All right, that's going to be it for me today. I still have quite a bit to do before midnight strikes tonight, and I want to start off the month strong with a nice, big, chunky, beautiful word day tomorrow. So that means I'm going to bed early. or maybe taking a nap before midnight and then just starting right at midnight. I don't know. It's going to be a chaotic day tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes, but I will be updating you every day in November up until I can no longer upload videos. All right. Until then, happy prepping. I will see you tomorrow and good luck with your first day of NaNoWriMo 2022. I'll see you later. Bye.